Today we will talk and reflect on the so-called arrest of El Mayo. Unlike the government and the social media is putting out and want you to believe that El Mayo was kidnapped and brought against his will here is untrue. El Mayo Zambada, let's reflect, El Mayo Zambada, the biggest cartel lord in the world, would be asked to get into an American plane, piloted by an American pilot, and is told, we're going to go fly over some fields or whatever excuse they gave him, and he's tricked or kidnapped and brought against his will. It's totally untrue. El Mayo Zambada, the largest cartel king in the world, has access to Lear jets, helicopters, pilots. Why would he want to get into an American plane unknown to him, number one, and number two, flown by an American pilot? Doesn't happen like that. Here's a man that knows he's the most wanted throughout the world, who walks around with an entourage of 20 to 30 bodyguards, would just climb into a plane and be told, oh, we're just going to fly over here to look over some fields or whatever the excuse was, and he just gets in and then is brought into the United States against his will. That is, there's no way that is not even possible. My sources tell me that El Mayo has been planning, and basically his lawyers have been setting up a cooperation between he and the U.S. Department of Justice, where he could surrender himself and become a government witness. Why not? His brother is a government witness. El Rey is a government witness. He's out of jail. His son, El Vicentillo, is also a government witness and is out of jail. His son, El Raton, 2 weeks ago was released from custody and is out of jail. And what are they? They're all U.S. protected witnesses. Why? Because they've all cooperated with the U.S. government. Let's not forget that in 2019, when El Chapo was being tried in New York, DEA agents went into El Vicentillo's cell, El Mayo's son's cell, and gave him a cell phone, and they said, here, your dad wants to talk to you. Vicentillo takes the call, and El Mayo tells him, go ahead, cooperate with the government, provide testimony against El Chapo. It's no secret, we know that he, Vicentillo, El Mayo's son, and El Mayo's brother, by the way, El Rey Zambada, also testified against El Chapo in the New York trial. That tells me what? That El Mayo has been cooperating with the DEA and the U.S. government since 2019. If he wasn't cooperating with the U.S. government, why would the DEA go into his son's cell and say, take this call, it's from your dad. Your dad wants to talk to you. Come on, folks. Come on. He had to have been cooperating with the DEA and the U.S. government since 2019. Now, my sources tell me that 2 weeks before his surrender in Texas, that a party was held at his ranch up in the mountains of Sinaloa, and it was a going away party that was being held there. Because he was telling his top people that he was leaving, and that he was leaving to come and surrender to the United States. Here's another thing to look into. Let's not forget that there was a $15 million reward for the arrest of El Mayo. Did Joaquin Guzman Lopez, Chapo's son, who supposedly was with him in the plane, did he receive that money? Was that the reward given to him? Folks, let's look at reality here. Let's follow the facts. What the U.S. government and the social media is giving you is not true. It can't be true. Now we have El Mayo Zambada cooperating with the U.S. government, which we'll see he will. He can give up some very, very high-level Mexican government officials to include former presidents. The Mexican president right now, López Obrador, has got to be shaking in his boots. The former president, Enrique Peña Nieto, has got to be shaking in his boots. What we'll see, and I predict is going to happen, is that El Mayo will serve a very minimum sentence and also become a U.S. citizen. I mean, a U.S. protected witness. We will see that. That's the only reason that El Mayo would surrender, and it's because he had to have brokered a deal with the U.S. government. As a former DEA agent and supervisor, I brokered some of those deals in the past. I know how these deals are brought upon, and these deals are brokered way before anybody surrenders. Before I end this video, I would like to give you a little update as to what is currently going on in Mexico. What we have right now is a major war between El Flaco, which is El Mayo's son, who has taken control of the Sinaloa cartel, against the Chapitos that are left, Archibaldo and other relatives of Guzman, El Chapo. They are fighting for control of the Sinaloa cartel. Right now, the Nueva Generación cartel, which is El Mencho's cartel, they're kind of staying out of it. They are right now the #1 cartel in Mexico. Now, what's going to happen in this war between Los Chapitos and El Flaco Zambada is unknown. We have heard of numerous deaths and shootouts all around Culiacan, Sinaloa. There's also a rumor that the governor, Rocha Moya, is supporting Los Chapitos against the Zambada organization, the Sinaloa cartel. It's going to be a hard-drawn battle between Los Chapitos and El Flaco Zambada. Now, I understand that the President of Mexico has stated that the government is not going to be involved, that they're going to basically let them settle their problems on their own, and that there will be no military intervention. Can you believe that? All these murders, all this violence is occurring, but yet the President of Mexico is saying that the government is going to not partake in it. So who's going to quell the violence, the mayhem, the burning that is taking place in Mexico right now? And it's not just centered in Culiacan, Sinaloa. There's wars being waged all over in Michoacan. We see some of it on the border in Sonora. Now, I understand that the old Caro Quintero clan is supporting the Sinaloa cartel. So you were seeing restructuring and little other little groups throwing in either with the Los Chapitos or with Sinaloa cartel. But there's a tremendous war going on in Mexico, and there's been very little reporting on this side. However, it doesn't affect the fact that the drugs are still going to continue to come in. We still have the Nueva Generación very active, and they're bringing in, smuggling a lot of fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamines, and other drugs. I don't see where we're going to get relief on the actual smuggling of these very lethal drugs into our country. The only way that we're going to actually be able to exert some type of action against these cartels is by declaring them terrorist organizations. If they are declared terrorist organizations, then, and only then, can the U.S. go into Mexico and stop this violence and put these cartels out of business once and for all. But until we in the United States don't make that determination or take that kind of action, we're always going to have these active cartels in Mexico. We're going to have this violence, and the drugs are going to keep pouring in. Like I stated, unless we go into Mexico and do war against the cartels, we are not going to see any relief in the amount of fentanyl, methamphetamine, cocaine, heroin, and other drugs that are coming into our country.